Hey guys, what's up and welcome to Zero Reviews Tech. I have the new Elephone P8, a phone with two specs that shout marketing. First is 6 gigs of RAM and the second is a 21 megapixel camera. Well, one of these specs actually does its job properly, and I'm sure you can guess which one. Apart from that, we have the Helio P25 1080p screen and a 3600 mAh battery. So first is the build quality. I'm pretty pleased overall with it. The body is high quality metal, it's well finished, tight tolerances for the most part, no issues with the quality here. My favorite thing here is the addition of a hardware mute key, which makes it so convenient to silence your phone. I think this is essential in most, if not all phones. I do have a couple of negatives I do want to point out though. First, there are no capacitive buttons beside the screen, so a big waste of space. There is no USB-C, it's just micro USB. And finally, the camera module sticks out and can be scratched super easily, so you have to be very careful there. So I'm going to start by saying that the screen is good for an LCD, but I recently just used the Z1 Pro's AMOLED display, link in the description below, and that screen has ruined all LCDs for me, which is a huge bummer. Still though, the colors on the Elephone P8 are deep and saturated for an LCD screen, and it's actually better than a lot of other LCD screens, and max brightness is viewable in sunlight also. I did encounter some problems with the touch though. The screen likes to mistake my swipes for taps when I use my callous index finger, so there are a lot of area for mistakes when I try swiping. Audio is pretty average, volume is average, so it's quality, not a lot of bass. Here's some sample audio for you to listen to.
He needs to stamp his authority on this point. He's trying to keep pouring in. They keep this game in stasis. France are able to take the point back under their control. It's a flash for Jamley, but he can't complete the kill. There it is. Kitty falls. That's a big support down for France. Yeah, Chapter comes down. That catch it.
Did you guys understand anything that happened over there? So battery life is the second most confusing part about this phone. One day I get 3 hours of screen on time, the very next day I get 8 hours of screen on time, and this 8 hours was about 6 hours of YouTube, half an hour of photos, half an hour of gaming, and the rest was miscellaneous stuff. It's really weird. So far it's stabilized to around 6 to 7 hours of screen on time, so honestly not bad, especially for a 3600 mAh battery, but be sure to take this section with a grain of salt. Moving on to the software, Elephone did a great job optimizing their software. The stock launcher doesn't feel as fast as the Umidigi Z1 Pro, link in the description below, but it's definitely more than fast enough. It is faster than the Z1 Pro when launching apps, which is very impressive considering they have the exact same specs. Multitasking is obviously great with 6 gigs of RAM, but make sure to turn off the most retarded setting ever placed on a phone with 6 gigabytes of RAM here. Like, why would you have a setting to clear the memory when you have 6 gigabytes? Like, seriously. Gaming is great, it plays everything no problem, but it has problems specifically with modern combat, which is very strange. That being said, everything else plays fine with great frame rates. Finally, the fingerprint sensor here is also average. Reception is great, 4G speeds are good also. Wi-Fi is okay, but speeds drop like a stone if you have too many walls or doors between you and the access points. Bluetooth works for the most part, but I just cannot control volume of a Bluetooth device. The volume keys control notifications instead. Moving on to GPS, that works fine also. So the back camera has a very diverse mix of great and not so great photos. So let's start with the good stuff. When the pics are great, detail is awesome, colors are nice and deep, and it's pretty easy to take photos of moving subjects also. There are situations where the photos you take can be too saturated, making it look like there was a crazy Instagram filter applied. Personally not my thing, but I'm sure there are some people who will like this sort of look. Let's move on to HDR, which left me really impressed also. Traditionally, HDR mode in many Chinese phones are completely useless and makes pictures look worse. Well, here Elephone's HDR mode actually does its job. It adds a bunch of dynamic range to the photos without washing out the photos, which is really important, really adding contrast and sometimes a dramatic effect to the photos also. Now let's move on to the bad parts of the camera, starting with the HDR. It still washes out some photos sometimes, which is a disappointment, but still a huge step forward. Now it seems to have trouble also getting focus 100% accurate. It might be very slightly off, but pictures are still usable for social media like Facebook or Twitter. And moving on to more bad parts of the camera, low light photography is still bad on the rear and the front camera. And speaking of the front camera, it's pretty average, but is a lot better than many other Chinese phone selfie cameras. Video is another area where Elephone needs quite a bit of work on. The back camera can take 4K video, but the problem is that the footage has a lot of artifacts and what looks like over sharpening. 4K footage is pretty bad. You should treat any 4K footage like regular 1080p. So conclusion, I'm confused. I'm really confused. So many of the aspects are good to great. Nice metal, good performance, but then there are some small problems here and there, like a micro USB port instead of USB-C or Wi-Fi reception. And then you have the even more confusing parts like battery life, which admittedly is getting steadier, and also the camera performance, which is a real mix of good and bad. Compare this to the Note 4 with the Snapdragon 625 and the Xiaomi wins every time. But this compared to the Yumi Digi Z1 Pro wins 100% because it is cheaper and it's pretty competitive with other Helio P25 phones also. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, likes and subs would be appreciated, and I'll see you guys in the next one.